Welcome to the Power of Your Mind podcast. I'm Victoria Gallagher, your host. Have you been attempting to use law of attraction or hypnosis to attract financial abundance, a soulmate, or career success? Would you like to be happy, motivated, and successful? Have better health, enjoy more fulfilling relationships, overcome struggle, and gain mastery over your life? Then join me on this amazing self-help podcast where you'll unleash the power of your mind. I'll be sharing 20 years of wisdom and techniques of hypnotherapy, law of attraction, visualization, meditation, personal growth, positive affirmations, and other effective methods to help you tap into the great power which resides in your mind and become the best version of yourself. Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Power of Your Mind podcast. You're listening to episode number 74. I'm Victoria Gallagher, Law of Attraction coach and #1 best-selling author of Practical Law of Attraction, Align Yourself with the Manifesting Conditions and Successfully Attract Your Desires. I'm also a clinical hypnotherapist, founder of HipTalk.com and HypnoCloud apps, so be sure to stop by HipTalk.com and sign up for your free self-hypnosis video training course. And for our listeners who found us through the Power of Your Mind podcast, you can get 35% off your first order of hypnosis downloads when you apply the code podcast to your shopping cart. Also, be sure to download our latest HypnoCloud app in the iTunes store. So today I have a very special guest with me, Steve Gallagher. Steve Gallagher is a sales expert in the luxury goods industry. He currently works for Hamra Jewelers in Scottsdale, Arizona. He's been a top-level producer in his industry for over 18 years. He describes himself as a great leader, communicator, negotiator, and closer, and gives a lot of credit to his success in sales to a set of communication skills that he has developed utilizing principles of NLP and conversational hypnosis. And I can also attest to the fact that he is a great husband. Yes, he's my husband, and he is the father of our 3 gorgeous cats, Emerald, Sebastian, and Velvet. If you're ever in the area and you're looking for a high-end piece of jewelry or a timepiece to celebrate a special occasion in your life, then visit him at Hamra Jewelers on Scottsdale Road, just off the 101. So today, Steve is excited to share some of his insights and strategies to open this rarely talked about conversation to others so that you can learn and benefit from some of these skills. So welcome to the show, Steve.
Hi, thank you very much. It's awesome being here.
It's great to have you. So tell me a little bit, before you discovered and stumbled upon these skills, like how long had you been in sales and what were sales like before you got started with NLP and persuasive communication skills?
Sure. I'm probably one of those proverbial born salesmen, to be honest with you. I've always enjoyed it. You know, I was the kid pushing the lawnmower through the neighborhood, selling my, lawn clipping services to the neighbors, where I would mow your lawn for $10, but also do the trimming for another $5. So, I've always been that guy, kind of gift of gab, and, I like working with people. So I've always been, a salesperson, and then really ever since college, that's always been the type of jobs I've had. I've been in insurance sales, advertising sales, marketing sales. And now I've been in the jewelry and timepiece industry for a pretty long time. And, I've always done well. I mean, I've always been what I would consider, even though, I'm kind of talking about myself, so it sounds a little self-indulgent. But, I would be considered by my managers to be above average, but not the #1, not spectacular, not any kind of record breaker. I got by. I'd get on hot streaks, but I'd get on cold streaks too. And I would learn my product well. I would take in the training that whatever company I was working with would give me. But, nothing terribly special, if I'm being really, really straight with you.
Yeah. So sales they were basically on par maybe with everyone else.
Maybe a little bit more because of, maybe I have a little more charisma or frankly, I'd like to think of a pretty good work ethic. So maybe I'd be the guy that would make a few more phone calls or work that extra hour or few hours a week to grind it out a little bit. But it never came easy, frankly. It was never, it was never quite what I wanted it to be. And I always felt like there was something missing. Maybe I just needed to be in the business longer or learn more. But I always kind of knew that maybe there, and I would see people doing better than me. So it told me that I'm trying hard. I'm a hard worker. What's missing? So I always did feel like there was some intangible thing out there that was missing.
Right. So you just did not feel like you were totally living up to your full potential in that area.
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement.
So what exactly are we talking about right now when you're talking about NLP and you're talking about these persuasive communication skills that we're going to talk about in a little bit? Can you just give us like a summary on what that even means to the average audience that's never even heard of this before?
Sure. Well, it probably takes even a little bit of a further step back than that. And, just having an understanding of how the mind works in relation to your conscious mind, your subconscious mind, frankly, hanging around you all these years, you really opened up the world of hypnosis to me, where I got to learn about the subconscious mind. And I think the average person, myself included at the time, really had no idea about the power of the subconscious mind and how that really runs the show for the most part. So then when I learned how hypnosis can help folks to make changes in their life and just all the various health benefits that hypnosis can bring, it just occurred to me that there were other areas that were interesting to look at, because I thought, well, if you're hypnotizing somebody, you're speaking to them. Well, what is it about this magical speech? And, well, okay, you're making suggestions in hypnosis and you're getting people into a state of suggestibility. So if you're doing that in hypnosis, well, there's more to that, isn't there? And so I discovered NLP. NLP, which stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming, is a deep dive into communication with others. And so what you're doing is you are pulling from, these subconscious principles that we have that end up dictating our personality type and our, communication style and the things that motivate us, that can have all sorts of things to do with whether it's our background and our childhood. And, just it's pretty deep. And I know we can only get into so much of it, but it's a very interesting study on how people communicate, why they communicate the way they do, the words they use, their personality, their communication style. And I realized that while that was interesting just kind of on an academic level, you can also quite probably use that skill for your own benefit. And so then that kind of joined in with my exposure to kind of conversational hypnosis, some people call it, persuasion skills, and it all kind of joins together. And what it ultimately boils down to is for an individual that is in any kind of relationship, and I'm going to talk mainly about my relationship with clients in a business environment, but really this can be used in so many different areas of one's life: your personal relationships, your relationships with your kids, a relationship really with anybody. But for somebody that needs to accomplish something, for me it's sales, for somebody that needs to accomplish something that does depend on another person that you're communicating with, why not? This was something for me to really take a look at. And so the fact is, I've studied it for many years, and I've had all sorts of my own little experiments with people, and learned what works, what doesn't work. And not to be funny, but it's almost like magic. When you use these skills, there's a very high success rate. You can feel it. It is very tangible to me when I say these things that I know I'm saying to these people to get these results. It's really, really fabulous. So that's what we're talking about. And I'd love to, talk more about it.
Yeah.
For instance.
Yeah. Well, let me just ask you,
Yeah.
I'm just going to go a little bit off script here because I had some pre-planned questions I wanted to ask you about this. But, when you're talking about this and the way that you're describing this, I know that people out there's an elephant in the room, and people are going to be asking and wondering about, well, isn't this just a fancy way of saying that you have the ability to manipulate somebody into? So can you speak to that? Like what
I think the word manipulation is very misunderstood in a lot of ways. It has a pretty negative connotation, but anybody that's unsure about that or wants to examine that for the possibility of a bad or a negative aspect, just consider this. I mean, are you not manipulating your kids to be good when you want them to be good? Are you not manipulating your customers to buy a product that you absolutely know you believe in that's totally to their benefit? Or with your spouse when you want them to do something nice, or you want to just, ingratiate yourself? There's manipulation. All that to say, I would submit to you that there is, quote unquote, manipulation with every bit of communication we do. We all have an agenda. We all are just trying to get something done. And so that's really just a word that somehow got a little twisted, but it's really just another synonym for communication. I mean, you are always trying to accomplish something, whether it's verbally or non-verbally.
Absolutely. I mean, it comes down to even down to the way that we dress, even down to the makeup that we wear, the perfume that we wear.
Right.
We're ultimately trying to create a state in somebody else.
I wear a nice suit to work, so am I manipulating a client that walks into my place of business into thinking that I'm a professional by my appearance of a nice suit and doing my hair and what have you?
Yeah.
Well, So am I wrong?
No.
So,
we're all doing it. We're all doing it. So just,
it's all kind of silly. Right?
Yeah. So get the negative connotation out of your
So what
mind.
I really want to get to is just the heart of how this can help people. If I may, I'd like to talk a little bit more about that. This is really more for people that are in any kind of relationship selling. There's relationship selling. There's things you have to do that involve relationships versus transactional. When you are going to get gas, that's something you need. It really doesn't matter how much the attendant connects with you or persuade. You don't need to be persuaded. That's a true need that you have. When you need to go to the grocery store to get food, that's a need. So what I'm talking about here is when people want something, or when they, it's not an essential thing. They can get it with you, but they can also get it somewhere else. So what helps you to...
Right, because, let's be honest, nobody actually needs these luxury goods.
Right.
It's not something you're going to die without.
Yeah, or nobody needs the exact house you're trying to sell, or the exact car you're trying to sell if you're in that industry, or the exact insurance policy that they could probably get that somewhere else, and it can have a lot of different looks. So the point is, what helps you stand out? So these types of skills really help you stand out. And the whole premise, the whole beginning of it is to, for one big thing is to understand, figure out the experience that they're after. Okay. If you can understand that, you can really use that in your presentation, in the words you use, to help up the chances of making the sale. When somebody comes to look at a Rolex timepiece with me, for instance, very rarely is it the case that they're walking around confused because they don't know what time it is. And it's just a terrible burden for them. And if I don't help them with this really expensive gold Rolex right now, this is a different thing. They're looking for a different type of benefit. It's something that it's what it represents, perhaps. Perhaps it represents, hey, I just got a big raise, or I just retired, or I'm buying this for my wife, and it's an expression of love for her. So when we work with our clients, this is a way of getting into the underbelly. Now we're getting beyond just talking about features and benefits of a product, like a canned salesman that are like a dime a dozen. Now we're getting into a little more of an elegant situation. So when you understand what that symbolizes to them, or what this item is, or this service that you're providing, what that represents to them, now we're kind of getting somewhere.
Right. Okay? So you're taking them basically on a journey into the future of what it's going to be like. when they
we'll get into that. Absolutely right. We'll get into that. That's an interesting technique called future pacing. But what I was going to start with was even a little bit more foundation building. So now we understand what experience they're after. Well, that's good. But another thing that's vitally important to this whole realm is what we call rapport building.
Yes.
So rapport, and most of you have heard of this before, so I won't belabor it, but it's just simply when you connect with somebody. When you meet somebody, have you ever met somebody and within a few minutes of talking with them, you feel like this is an old friend? That's somebody you have great rapport with.
I felt that way with you when we first met.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. However, that's not always the case, is it?
Right.
No. So, sometimes luck of the draw, you'll meet somebody that you make a great connection with. Sometimes you meet somebody that's very obviously different from you or that you seem to have a hard time connecting with. So in the past, before I knew about rapport building skills and again, this kind of conversational skill, it would just be luck of the draw. I either chalked it up to, well, that person was difficult or that person wasn't somebody I'm good at working with, or it's somebody that is. But the fact is you can really...
So you just kind of felt like you either have the rapport or you don't have it.
Yeah, and you're kind of a victim to it almost. And that's not true at all. So what you realize when you study neurolinguistic programming is there are, a handful of prevailing communication styles that people have. So, what you want to do as a person who's studying this and taking a look at this is study the person in front of you with your eyes and your ears. Do they tend to be somebody who, uses words that are very visual in their definition? So this is a communication style of visual person. Do they say things to the effect of, oh, this watch looks really nice, or, it looks to me that such and such. Visual words. It looks, I see, look at how beautiful that is. That's a visual person. So that's something that you can use when you talk to them. You're going to say things that describe it visually. Oh my gosh, look at how nice that is for you. Look at how nice that looks on you. I'm sorry, I'm jumbling the word a little bit, but that looks great on you. Look at this. So I'm using the word look a lot, but see, you're using visual. Then you have people that are very auditory. These are people, frankly, that talk a lot. That means they like listening to themselves speak. They are motivated. They're just, they interpret the world. They interpret things through their ears, the way things sound. So when I talk to that type of person, I'm going to say things like, well, it sounds like you like this watch more than that one. Or I hear you saying that the important thing for you with a diamond for your wife is such and such. So you want to keep your ears open for things like that. You have people that are what we call kinesthetic, and these are people that are very deep into their feelings. They talk about how something doesn't feel right, or it gives them a warm feeling, or, ooh, I looked at that and I just got goosebumps. So you're going to want to adapt the words you say to that person in the same way. I feel like this would be a great move for you to make. You're going to be so happy with this choice. Feeling words. This is how you connect with them. So this is more than just staying in your red letter language, or, I'm sure anybody in sales knows what that means, with the same person and just playing a numbers game. Well, I guess I'll just say the same thing every single time and I'll get the sales I get and I won't get the sales I won't get. No, up the odds for yourself by adapting to their communication style.
If you find value in this personal growth related material, I strongly recommend that you sign up for your $1 trial to my Personal Growth Club. Just head on over to personalgrowthclub.com and get a whole month of premium Personal Growth Club video training materials, meditations. You also get 6 free hypnosis sessions that are valued at over $174, all for this trial of just $1. Even if you cancel, you can keep the 6 hypnosis sessions. That's my gift to you, and that's how confident I am that you are going to love Personal Growth Club. Go to personalgrowthclub.com and start your $1 1-month trial today. So you're basically matching the language that they're speaking in when they're saying that they see a lot, and you pick up on the fact that they're a visual person.
Yeah.
You just change your communication to speak their language so that they're much more...
Absolutely. And so that's at a fairly basic level, but then it gets even a little bit more evolved from there. Listen to their words. And so now I want to talk, listen to the words they use and use those words. Mm-hmm. People use words that they like. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, they wouldn't use them.
Yes.
And you can see extreme examples of this when you'll meet people that, really wear out a word, frankly, or a phrase. And I'm sure we can all think of that person that uses that one word all the darn time. I remember waiting on a client who used the word awesome. It seemed like every second or third word to describe what we were either looking at or talking about. Well, guess what? I want to build a connection with them, and I want them to think that, we're, the similar type of person. So guess what word I started using a lot?
Awesome.
And I promise you, I'm not just being funny. I absolutely sold him a watch, a very expensive timepiece his first time coming in. So, we're doing all these things to build rapport. A great acronym, and not to pat myself on the back, but this is an acronym I created for the word rapport, which is spelled RAPPORT. And if you write those letters down, the acronym I developed for that is really all people prefer others relating to them. And that's what you're doing with these rapport building skills. They're not coming to see a salesperson, they're coming to see a friend. And that's what all of this is about. And don't you like buying from friends? Don't you feel comfortable with your friends? Don't you open up to your friends? I know I do. Do you feel comfortable opening up to a salesperson? Do you feel comfortable? Maybe some people are comfortable opening up to everyone.
Yeah, but most salespeople kind of get a bad, like that sleazy, slimy,
A lot do. Or, it's just a lot of people just don't like salespeople. So, that's why these things are so great. Because not only are we upping the chances of making the sale today, but it also ups the chances. I mean, most people in any industry involving sales or commerce at all need loyalty, and they need repeat business, and they need those folks to refer others to them. So it just goes a long way to turning this from a transaction into an experience and a relationship.
Exactly.
Another thing I just want to mention is mirroring people is really important. You'll notice somebody kind of slouches on the counter or on the desk, or so guess what? You do that. You're conveying, and it's hypnotic. It is gently communicating to their subconscious mind, I'm like you. Mm-hmm. I am like you.
So when you're doing this mirroring,
yeah,
do people pick up on it? Do you find that people notice that consciously? Like, hey, you're copying me. Is it like a monkey see, monkey do type thing?
That's a great question. It really is. And the fact is, if you are very obvious about it, yeah, they might. Mm-hmm. So there needs to be a little bit of a lag between. You're not a mime. You're not a monkey. Yeah, like you said, monkey see, monkey do. You're not, the second they put their arm on the counter, I put my arm on the counter. That would really, really break rapport. That could break the little, vibe you have going. So pace yourself a little bit. If they say or do something, you would want to say or do a similar thing, maybe the same thing a little bit afterwards. So it's a gentle kind of following up, kind of a step or two behind them. Yeah, you're not, it's a good question. You're not mimicking them.
Right.
But
all of that, it takes place on the subconscious. It's not even anything they're necessarily seeing consciously. This is all subconscious, and it's all showing them like, hey, this person's very much like me, so I can trust that person.
Yeah, you're really bypassing what they talk about in hypnosis, the critical factor, that little wall that somebody has coming in that they think, okay, I'm going to watch out for this thing, and that I'm going to, I'm consciously thinking of the things I want to watch out for because I don't like working with salespeople. I'm going to watch out for him trying to sell me something that I don't want to buy. That whole thing. You're chipping away at that by just easing. It's almost like you're coming around from I don't want to say back door or a side angle, but you really are. You're really doing a little bit of an elegant dance, and you're gently kind of ingratiating yourself with the words you say, which are similar to theirs. You're communicating in a similar style to theirs. Now you're physically mirroring them. Again, I use the example of someone who's a little slouchy. But what about somebody who really stands very upright with good posture? You would do the same. Pacing with them. Surely we've met people that talk really, really fast. But then you've met people that talk really, really slow. And they're very deliberate. But then you meet that person that's like, so here's what I want to do today, Steve. I'm trying to look at this and I want to see that. They talk fast. Well, again, they talk that way. They stand that way because they like to. That's them. That's what's comfortable for them. So I'm going to take on that similar pace, that similar volume. You got the people that talk really loud. And they got to be the center of the party. They got to be all eyes on me. They got to be big attention people. And that's fine. I will be that same way. Or you have people that are very close, very introverted, maybe very quiet in their speech. And guess what? You're going to be the same way.
And all of this because, from what I understand, is the buying decision is not even made at the conscious level. You don't even know that you've made the decision on a conscious level until you've actually made it. You've made it emotionally. You've made it on a subconscious level.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for that. That can go in a lot of different directions. I tend to feel like somebody walking in my store because I want to make a positive assumption for myself and for my own self-talk. I tell myself that anyone coming in my place of business wants to do business. Mm-hmm. Now it's just up to me to give them a reason to have what they want, to do what they want to do. And I'm going to do that by connecting with them. I'm going to do that by building that rapport with them. I'm going to do that by gently persuading them, in a way that will get them to where they want to be. Another way that we build that rapport is a very useful tool called undeniably truthful statements. Mm-hmm. And so again, this gets at the person that may have some objections or they're unsure. And it doesn't even have to be that they're unsure to the point that they're scared. I don't mean to exaggerate it, but most folks come in and they want to buy something, but maybe they're unsure that they want to spend X amount. Maybe they only want to spend this amount, which is a lesser amount. Maybe they don't know that they want to do business with you today, or maybe maybe there's somebody that wants to wait or think about it. Or again, they might be comparing you to another store that sells a similar good. You have to consider that. So undeniably truthful statements, another way of chipping away, increasing your odds.
And you're chipping away at the resistance.
You are. So what we want to do is get a customer, a client, somebody that we want to agree with us to say what? When it all comes down to it, there's a magic word we want them to say. I'll give you a hint. It's 3 letters. Yeah, yes! Thank you. Exactly.
Please.
And just so everyone knows.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I'm sitting in the same room with Victoria and I'm not showing her a sign that says yes. It's very basic. She was able to fill in the blank. We all want our clients to say yes. Well, how do we do that? Well, let's get them to say yes. Except let's get them to say yes about very basic, simple things before we work to the big yes, which is, yes, I will hand over my hard-earned money to you today for your product, service, whatever it is you're working with me on.
So what are some undeniably truthful statements that you might...
Absolutely. It can be very basic, guys. It can be just as basic as, what a beautiful day it is today.
Yes.
Yes, it is. When it's sunny and nice outside, guess what? They're going to say yes. Look, when somebody comes to look at my showcase, I have an awful lot of options in my bridal department, for instance. So when I make a sweeping motion with my arm and say, we have a lot of beautiful diamonds to look at. What, are they going to disagree with that? I can count them. There's an awful lot.
Yes.
So when we make these little observations, these little statements, pick whatever city you're in. Maybe you're in New York and it's baseball season and the Yankees just won last night. And your client is wearing a Yankees t-shirt. So if you make a comment that, well, the Yankees had a great game last night, didn't they? Well, what are they going to say? No? First of all, they won. So they didn't win because they played badly, a sports fan knows maybe you get lucky sometimes. But anyway, these are the things we do to chip away, and they start saying yes. And the more they say yes, believe me, it makes it a little easier to say yes when we get to the big the big close later on in the process.
Yes. Gotta get a bunch of like little yeses.
You do. And so, these are all ways of just gently getting them to that, big final yes. You've understood the experience that they're after. You've taken that in. So you're speaking to that. You're building this connection. And it really can have the effect of having them feel like putty in your hands. Because now, and you'll just feel a shift. I mean, think about it. When you walk into your friend's house, how do you feel? You feel just comfortable. It's like, oh, okay, now I'm with somebody that I can share with, that I can be open with. This is how they're going to feel with you. And make sure, here's a distinction to make. I'm not saying to you that everybody that you're going to work with is now going to be your BFF and you're going to go and have windy walks on a Sunday afternoon on the beach. I'm not insinuating that. But really, when you do this, it gets back to just think about yourself. Really think about yourself. Do you prefer to do business with somebody you like, dislike, or are indifferent to? Now,
that can make all the difference in the world.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I've been in situations in stores or places, and it's just like, oh, there's just something about that person. They just don't have the right energy. And I know I can get this. A lot of times the things that people sell, they're commodities. They can buy these things anywhere. So why, I don't necessarily want to do business with that person. They're creepy. They're following me all around the store. They're not pacing with me.
And exactly. Yeah, exactly. And when I say, there's, would you prefer to buy from somebody you like, dislike, or you are indifferent to? Well, let's just take a look at that. I mean, the logic tells you that it's somebody that you like. So we agree that it's not going to be somebody that you dislike. So obviously there's a motivation to connect with the person. But you might actually do business with one of these non-essential things that you just want to have with somebody that you're indifferent to. You could. I mean, gosh, it could happen. Anybody could. I don't want to call it luck, but it can and probably does happen. But then think about this. What is really the likelihood that you'll go back to that person?
Probably not likely.
Right? I mean, what did they really... Maybe you just felt like buying it. It's like, you know what? I've looked at 10 different places already. I'm indifferent to this sales professional or to this agent or whoever it is in front of me. So I'm tired. I got to get home. Maybe I go ahead and do the business. Fine. But is that somebody that you're going to be wildly enthusiastic about coming back to? Is that going to be somebody you would refer a friend to? Is that somebody you're going to even remember their name? Is that somebody whose card you're going to hang on to? I would suggest to you that probably not.
Yeah. And, the more I think about this too, I mean, it's like when you like somebody, when you like the person that it's almost like you don't even want to let them down. If you think about it,
that's a great insight. I've had clients too that maybe I'm not going to sit here and tell the audience that I've closed every sale ever. But yeah, I have had that experience where they almost feel bad because maybe they just literally can't do it. I mean, there are real life things that come up.
It's like, I like you so much, I just have to. Have to give you the business. I'm going to buy this anyway, eventually, but I'm going to go ahead and do it today.
But sometimes they're a little let down that they, can't do it with me right now because I've built such a nice connection. Yeah. And let me circle back and make sure that I say this.
Yeah.
A lot of folks might be saying, you know what, this is useful, but, isn't this maybe kind of... I'm not sharing any rocket science, but here's the thing for folks. So anybody who's ever worked with the public has had the experience of getting on a hot streak, or just everything you are doing that you touch turns to gold. But then you go through the times where it ain't working. It feels like nothing is happening. So the reason why this is good to keep in top of mind is because a lot of folks are out there that you connect with. You just, I don't want to say you got lucky, but you just, you might be good at connecting with people, or you just happen to connect with the last 5 people that you've worked with. Mm-hmm. And so you didn't really have to consciously think about any persuasion skills or rapport building. You just didn't have to. It just came naturally. People out there are people that are in sales tend to be very personable and tend to have really good, personal skills with folks.
You're charismatic by nature.
You're charismatic by nature. That alone, but before anything you would ever hear from me or before any, research into NLP or persuasion techniques, you're doing fine. I get it, okay? But I think we'd all agree that we could always do better. We could always grow. Yeah. I never heard anybody say, no more sales for me. I don't want to make any more money this month. That's way too much.
Systemize it a little bit.
Well, that's what I'm getting
more,
at. So this is the kind of thing that is important to understand, that this is out there. These techniques are out there. So when you find yourself in a rut, when you find yourself having a quote-unquote bad day, or when you feel like you're just a little out of sorts, this is why none of this is rocket science standalone on its own, but to remember these things and say, oh, wow, you know what? I had something bad going for me outside of work, and it's carrying into my day, and I'm not doing well with some of my clients, but let me just kind of do a reset.
Yeah.
And recognize, oops, you know what? Yeah, if I'm being honest, I kind of forgot with the last person or the last couple of people to take a look at their communication style, to take a look at, what's motivating them, what's not motivating them, what experience they're after. I kind of forgot to mirror. I kind of forgot to use, their language. And so when you then go ahead and turn that switch on, you'll feel that shift again.
Hello, this is Victoria Gallagher. I hope you're enjoying listening to the Power of Your Mind podcast. As a way of thanking you for listening, I'd like to offer you a one-time discount of 35% off your first order at hiptalk.com. Just go to hiptalk.com and enter the code PODCAST in the discount code area in your cart, and you'll receive 35% off your first order. Thank you so much for listening to the Power of Your Mind podcast. And wouldn't you say that these are things that people that are they're not even aware of it, that are top in their field, in their in their sales or whatever they're top in? Wouldn't you say these are things that people are like naturally doing anyway?
Yeah, well said. A lot of this is absolutely stuff you are doing without even realizing it. Nobody needed to come up to you and you've been good at working with people for your whole life. You didn't need somebody to come up and say, you're actually really good at building rapport. And let me tell you what, you're just doing it. You're just doing your thing. Yeah. So that's great. You have been doing this. Most of your top, we call them number ones in my world, number one salespeople are doing a lot of these things, but you're doing them subconsciously. Mm-hmm. You just didn't know that you were mirroring with. There are people that do these things without ever having had it pointed out or formal training.
Right. This just allows you to know what those successful skill sets are that you are doing when you're on a roll and when you're on fire. And now if you find yourself that you're not on a roll and you're not on fire, now you can consciously actually do these things.
And I wish we had more time, because I feel like there's so many other, more specific techniques and things that we can get into.
On this.
Yeah, so maybe we'll revisit this.
Yeah.
I definitely want to mention the best book in the world that I've ever found on this. And so everybody grab your pen and paper and write down this book. And it's been out of print, frankly, for a while. And I sure hope it's something that can still be found out there, because I've owned it a long time, read it 100 times. The title of the book is Unlimited Selling Power. Again, it's Unlimited Selling Power.
And that's by?
And it's written by two authors, Donald, and I hope I'm pronounced properly, Moyne, M-O-I-N-E, Donald Moyne, and Kenneth Lloyd, L-L-O-Y-D. Unlimited Selling Power. And it's the subtitle is How to Master Hypnotic Selling Skills, and it's really got it all. I mean, this is where you get into really, really elegant, when you understand, okay, if you have somebody who's very negative coming into the store, for instance, they don't need anything, or everything kind of stinks. You ever met that client that they magically find something a little wrong with every product you're showing them? Well, just turn around and use that same language. Oh no, you wouldn't want this. this product isn't for you. This product is more for somebody with bigger needs than yours. Okay. Yeah. Like let's say that you're selling some type of a business service, for instance. You don't need this printer because, this is really for people that are looking to, grow their business or have really big business plans to have a much bigger client base.
So it's like the takeaway.
It's almost like in fact, that's what it is. It's taking away the sale is what they call it. So it's really fun. And then
I've used that before. As a matter of fact, when I was doing my practical law of attraction and somebody was thinking about whether they wanted to take the intensive or not, and, she just had a lot of questions about it, and I just said, maybe it's just not your time
You know what? This isn't for you. And and that's fine. I understand that. It's not for everybody.
She says, oh, no. I'm ready. Yeah, I am ready. I want this right now.
Yeah, what do you know? So that's where the magic and the fun comes in. And
you're detaching from it too, and it's it's also part of that art of persuasion. Like the person who wants it least wins, or the person who has the
well, there is some of that, but another said is another way is kind of getting back to just the premise of what I'm talking about is when you're having a conversation with a friend, we've shifted from having a conversation with a salesperson who wants you to buy.
Yeah.
Now we're just talking to a friend who's giving you good advice.
And you've completely removed the pressure.
Yeah, or giving you some fun information, and you're having a fun experience learning about something. And now we're, in the presence of this fun thing or this interesting thing. Or, not that it's always so fun. There's a lot of more somber things like life insurance and, car insurance and, very important things. But, again, now we're not having a serious conversation about, but we're having, an interesting conversation, a relaxed conversation, a conversation at the person's pace that they're comfortable with. So all that to say, it's really, really made a huge impact on my success level.
I was just going to ask about that. So since you've been using these skills that we've just been talking about, and we've talked about a lot of skills, just to kind of recap, we've talked about, understanding the state of mind that the person that you want to take that to. What is the feeling? What is the state that you want them to experience?
What is the experience they want to have with the product that you're offering?
Knowing what that is when you're talking to them. Knowing whether they're visual or kinesthetic or an auditory person, mirroring with them, pacing with them, all of these, and talking about the undeniable truth, and we've
using their language,
using their words, there's even some magic words. I imagine that you could kind of throw in like that I've learned over time, the naturally, easily. Those there's some magic words you can.
Yeah, there are. And there's also one thing that's. Using the word "and" instead of "but." I mean,
yes.
it's almost like the cup runneth over with all the things you could talk about.
Oh, it's amazing.
Don't use the word "but." Use the word "and." So because a "but" is a negating word. So if I were to say, this diamond is really beautiful and is cut so well and has fabulous brilliance, but that word just now they're not even hearing anything after that. Now it's negated.
It's almost like it deletes that.
It really is. It's like you're done. You're done.
Yeah.
The other version of that, the better version of that, is for me to say this diamond is so well cut. It's got fabulous color. It's got amazing brilliance, and ...
Mm-hmm.
You just perked their ears up. Oh wow, he was saying nice things, but here comes like an even bigger thing. It has that effect of here comes an even bigger thing, and you literally just sharpen their attention on that. They're hanging on to that next word so much more. But so that's the difference. That's the difference between just that little example alone. That's the difference between your untrained or your basic kind of a sales clerk, if you will. Not to paint such a broad brush, but versus somebody who's trained in this type of conversation. Because listen to people talk. They use the word "but" all the time.
Well, and when somebody's trying to give you an excuse as to maybe why they aren't able to do something, rather than saying something to negate the excuse, you say, and well, my funds are a little low right now. And we also offer 0% financing or whatever it might be. So it's another, that's a word you could use to answer their question, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So just, all these wonderful techniques and thousands more. I mean, what would you say since you started using these many years ago? I mean, what did you notice? Like, what's been the transformation for you in your sales, and what can people expect to gain as a result of using these techniques?
Well, there's not really a fair way for me to say, well, my sales went up 25%.
Yeah.
I couldn't really say that. I would say my number of transactions have gone, really, it really have gone much, much higher.
You can attribute many more closings.
No question.
Least.
And then, what it really turned into for me, which is, I think, going to be like just gooey, buttery wonderfulness to the ears of any salesperson, is rather than having to chase through numbers and chase after people, allowed me to build up a clientele of people that enjoy working with me. We have this super friendly, it's relaxed, it's easy, rapport-filled connection with these clients, to where I very rarely have to worry about going out and getting new clients, because my plate is always full with just people that have purchased with me, so they come back. I don't have to deal with unpleasant people, because I don't have to even let you in. I've already got just this great base of, and make no mistake, I always take more clients, but it's just made my quality of work so much better. I'm not having to make cold calls. I'm not having to, chase after that. I've just, I've got this great clientele of people that enjoy doing business with me. And I know it's because I put the time in to lay these foundations of this rapport. So you're talking much higher level of transactions, much more comfort with, especially when some of my clients are spending 6 figures per transaction.
Right.
You're not doing that on a whim most of the time. You're not doing that with people that that you don't care for. So, to make it easy for these people to seemingly by the time we do it, it almost feels like they're casually doing it, like it's not even a thing. It's because we build these connections. So, it's having that comfort with the client believes you, they trust you. You don't have to, defend your product. You don't have to, demonstrate any superior nature of your product. There's this inherent trust that they have with you, which is, again, it's just so nice to deal with in sales. So much in sales is cold calling and, chasing after new people and trying desperately to retain clients for future, sales and, client retention. There's so much stuff out there towards this, and it doesn't have to be that hard, guys. It really doesn't.
Right.
It really doesn't.
Well, this been awesome. This has been great information, really valuable information, I know, for our listeners, because I know that I have a huge audience of people who are either in sales or entrepreneurial in nature. So I know that these skills can really apply to a lot of our listeners of Power of Your Mind podcast. How would you suggest somebody take the information that we have talked about here, but then move forward from here? Like, what would be the next logical step for them to take?
I think part of it is you got to build a foundation. You got to crawl a little bit before you can walk. So this is an education. This is something you do need to learn about, so it can become second nature for you, so that you can really utilize these skills in a casual conversation without having to kind of think through it. It's because you do need to learn some stuff. So there is. We're all familiar with the dummies handbooks out there, right? So there is a NLP, neuro-linguistic programming for dummies out there that is definitely a good recommendation. And, by the way, all this stuff helps you to shift how you look at people too, and for the better.
Oh, absolutely.
So like when you learn about NLP, you learn about what they call the presuppositions of NLP, which help you to see the good in people and to understand people's motivations. And it does a lot of things in a healthy way for how you view the world and people. So definitely recommend getting a foundation.
I love the presuppositions.
Yeah, absolutely. You learn that, people are inherently trying to do good and trying to be their best. And when you integrate that into your own being. It gives you a better outlook on people. So read NLP for Dummies. There is a man named Will Horton who has a really good interactive course that he offers. He has a website called NFNLP.
Yeah, National Federation of NLP.
That's what his organization. Yeah. So sorry if I fumble that one more time. N as in Nancy, F as in Frank, N as in Nancy, L as in lollipop, P as in popcorn. .com. I don't know if I got my call signals the same as the military, but close enough.
Yeah.
He's great. He's charismatic. He's fun. He's, just silly, and but it's a good, well-paced course. And then, really, I think, you're going to speak to on a few things too, because just understanding more about the mind and different skills. There's so many things, but I'd like.
Yeah,
because you have a couple items that are really great.
Well, one of the things you mentioned was part of how you got exposed to all of this wonderful information that you've been able to tap into.
It really was you.
Just that I'm a hypnotist.
Honest, it was. But before we got married, before we got hitched, you opened up this world to me.
Yeah. And just for those, the other elephant in the room, the ongoing joke out there always is like, have you ever hypnotized your husband? So just before I speak to that, like how would you answer that?
I always say every day. And that, ba-bum bum. And that's our little thing.
That's our little thing.
That's what you get being married to a hypnotist.
Yeah. So kind of like Steve was talking about, a big part of this is about rapport building. I mean, that's such a foundation. And so I do have a lot of different hypnosis sessions on my website, hiptalk.com, which is my flagship website. That's where it all got started. I have all my other things going on now with my apps and my courses and things like that. But Hip Talk is a place where you can find all kinds of tools that are hypnotic meditations, affirmations, things that can help to change your mindset, make you more confident. So one of them I would recommend would be the Build Rapport Hypnosis download. And that actually teaches you some of these skills that we were just talking about, but on a subconscious level, so that you can, rather than feeling like you're forcing yourself to do these things, you can actually learn how to do them at a deep unconscious level. So that's called Build Rapport Hypnosis Download. You can find that on hiptalk.com. Another one will teach you how to be more influential with people, and this can go whether you're talking about in sales or in personal relationships. This one is called Power Influence Hypnosis Download. Power Influence Hypnosis Download. And then I have some for sales success. I mean, I have over 600 programs on hiptalk.com. There's a huge section on there in business success that is all very much catered toward my business success people, my entrepreneurial people, my business owners, my real estate agents, my top salespeople. So you can take a look there, and you will definitely find all of these types of strategies that you can apply doing hypnosis and retraining your subconscious mind how to talk to people and how to better connect with people, because that's what it really comes down to is giving people the experience that they want. And people don't buy things, just like Steve was saying, people don't buy things because they have a genuine need for them. They buy things because they want that and experience. They want that experience. They want to feel some certain way. And so if you can, through your language, evoke that feeling in that person, then you've basically made the sale before you've ever even asked for it. So that's all we've got today.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah.
It was just a lot of fun being here, and thank you so much. And guys, go out and make those sales, and maybe I'll come back again sometime if Victoria will have me.
Yeah, it was great having you.
Talk about some other things like that.
It was great having you on the show after all these years.
Yeah, right?
It just sort
I finally was able to get squeezed in.
Yeah, so thank you so much
It's a hot ticket, you know?
Thank you so much, listeners, for being a listener of Power of Your Mind podcast. And if you got value out of today's episode, please definitely drop me a line and leave a review and share this with your friends and anybody who you believe would benefit from these types of techniques and strategies. We talk about NLP, hypnosis, affirmations, law of attraction, and anything that helps you to get where you want to be who you want to be, and do the things and have the things that you want to have in your life. So thank you so much for listening to the Power of Your Mind podcast, and tune in next week and every week from then on. Have a wonderful week. Bye. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with your friends. And once again, be sure to subscribe to the Power of Your Mind podcast if not already. We can be found as Hip Talk on all our social media accounts. So like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, subscribe on YouTube, and sign up for your free self-hypnosis video training course at hiptalk.com. Be sure to subscribe to the Power of Your Mind podcast, and you'll be instantly notified the moment the next podcast becomes available. Also, please be sure to leave a rating and a review to tell us how you're enjoying these episodes, and that way you're making a contribution toward others getting to share in this valuable information. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon. You've been listening to the Power of Your Mind podcast, brought to you by HipTalk.com, Personal Growth Club, and HypnoCloud apps available at iTunes.